Hey guys, Jordan Schumacher here, and welcome back to this video in the Facebook Ad Accelerator program. This video is part of Module 2, which is all about how to create a profitable marketing funnel from scratch. And in the previous video, we talked about the importance of starting with the customer, beginning with who your customer actually is, beginning with customer research. And in this video, we're going to talk about the best way to actually acquire and extract and analyze that data, which is the customer survey method. And so let's dive into exactly how to use the customer survey to extract the data that you need to create a profitable marketing funnel. And so utilizing this customer survey strategy allows you to remove all of the guesswork from your campaigns by getting feedback straight from your customers themselves. And so as a marketer, it's incredibly easy to sort of make educated guesses as to what people think of your product or why people are actually purchasing your product. And oftentimes, even though those guesses are educated, oftentimes they're flat out wrong. And so utilizing a customer survey in the manner that I'm about to show you how actually allows you to get the feedback about what people think of your brand, what people think of your positioning, how people perceive your brand compared to the rest of the market, and why people are actually buying your products. It allows you to get that feedback and that data straight from your customers. And so it's an incredibly powerful tool. Every time that I've conducted this survey, I've learned something new about my offer or customer, whatever I was selling, whatever I was marketing, whoever I was marketing it to. Every time I've conducted any sort of customer survey, I've learned something new. And so it's an incredibly powerful and eye-opening tool. And oftentimes you're going to discover that your customers are buying your products for a reason that you hadn't even thought of, which is incredibly powerful because that allows you to position your products in that way that customers are actually already buying your product for, which makes the entire effectiveness and ROI of your marketing campaigns significantly increase, which is ultimately why it's so important to conduct your own customer survey and never take your clients' opinions as truth, or anyone you're working with opinions as truth. And so as a marketer, whether you're an in-house marketer, whether you're a consultant, whatever the case may be, anytime you come into a business, that business is going to have preconceived notions of who their target customer actually is. And in many cases, unless you're working with a very sophisticated business, in many, if not most cases, that business is actually going to be very wrong about who their target customer is and who they're actually trying to target. And so it's incredibly important to do your own due diligence and conduct your own customer survey, because it truly is shocking how many businesses are completely out of touch with their customers. And so how do you actually set up and execute a customer survey? So overall, like first zooming out 10,000 foot view, the overall purpose of the customer survey is to get a very strong understanding of exactly who your customers are, what their level of sophistication is in your market. In other words, how familiar they are with other products and how familiar they are with their problem and just the available solutions to them. And then ultimately, and most importantly, why they're choosing to buy your product as opposed to one of your competitors. You can also offer a discount to everyone who takes the survey to incentivize them to take it. And then ultimately, any prospects who take the survey, you offer them a discount. That leads them to a checkout page at the end of the survey to potentially capture a few sales. And so I've never personally done this. I've seen people launch surveys as essentially a sales funnel, and I've seen case studies of that being incredibly powerful as well. And so essentially you set up a survey, and then based on what they say they're interested in, what products they say they're interested in, you offer them a discount at the end of the survey. Say, hey, thanks for taking the survey. Here's a discount on our product that would be great for you based on your answers. And then you send them to a checkout page, and they can purchase in that way. And that can be an incredibly powerful sales mechanism as well. I would highly, highly, highly recommend the book Ask by Ryan Levesque for a deep dive on this topic. Again, I don't claim to be some survey master by any means. I just rob and duplicate what works, and I'm just showing you what's worked for me. Ryan Levesque has a book called Ask, which is really, really great. It goes into great detail on how you can actually use surveys for customer insights like I'm about to show you in this video, but also how you can use surveys to launch and sell products and services in a very ROI positive way. And so what are you going to need to actually set up this customer survey? You're going to need two things. You're going to need an email, which is ultimately to invite your customers to take the survey. And then you're going to need some sort of survey software. So it could be Google Forms, SurveyMonkey, JotForm, doesn't matter. And then obviously you'll need questions for the survey, and that's it. This is a very, very lightweight process. You can have this set up and executed within like 2 to 3 hours. It should not take you very long to actually get this set up. And so the first thing that you're going to send out is the email for the survey. So keep the email short and to the point. Ultimately, you're just asking people for feedback, and people love giving feedback. It's really not difficult to convince people to take a short survey. So include 2 call to actions in your email, which are just links to the survey. Include 1 call to action towards the top of the email, 1 towards the bottom. Typically that results in a higher engagement rate just because people can see very quickly what they're supposed to click on. Keep it friendly. You're asking these people for a favor, so just be like, hey, we're trying to get a better sense of who our customers are so we can improve our products and serve you better. Would love your feedback. This survey will take you approximately 43 seconds to complete. Please click here to take it and help us out. And you can also, in exchange for people's input, you can offer discounts, coupons, whatever the case may be. You can certainly throw in incentives so that as many people take this survey as possible. Now that's the email. That's pretty straightforward, right? Just send an email to a survey. The survey itself, the survey software that you use does not matter. I would recommend Google Forms, but it works just as well as JotForm or SurveyMonkey. Like, just pick a tool and use it because it literally does not matter. Again, I recommend Google Forms because they are free. The questions in the survey are the most important part by far, and those questions are ultimately going to vary based on the product being sold and the market being sold to. However, the purpose behind each question will be very similar regardless of your market, regardless of your industry. And so I'm going to walk you through the purpose of each question in your survey, and I'll walk you through that. And so your questions should be a mix of multiple choice and written response questions, with multiple choice questions listed first. So multiple choice questions are obviously great because it's easy to segment the data, and it's quick for people to fill out. And so typically you always want to have the lowest barrier to entry questions on the front end of the survey. So when someone starts a survey, they're far more likely to complete it. The hardest part is getting someone to start it. So you want to make it as easy as possible for people to start that survey. And so typically you're going to include multiple choice, easy questions at the beginning because it's just incredibly easy to click a button. And then towards the end of the survey, that's when you want to leave your more open-ended written response questions. That's going to give you much richer context and insight into the state of mind of your prospect. And if someone's halfway through a survey and sees that question, they're far more likely to complete it, as opposed to if someone sees an essay question on question number 1 of this survey, they're just going to bounce. And you should also, if at all possible, separate your survey answers by actual paying customers and non-paying customers. And because, obviously it goes without saying that the answers of your paying customers should be weighed much more heavily than the answers of your non-paying subscribers, simply because your paying customers have paid you money. Obviously, they value your product much more than your subscriber list, and so their insights should be treated as much more credible. So what are the purposes behind each question on your survey? So question number 1. So the very first question you ask, or one of the first questions you should ask, besides asking them like their name and contact information, you should force your prospect to define themselves as a specific bucket of customer or demographic of customer by giving them 3 to 4 customer buckets to choose from. So this ultimately lets you know primarily who your customers are made up of so that you can speak directly to them in the future. And so if I was to create a customer survey, let's pretend that I'm doing a customer survey for this Facebook Ad Accelerator program. In that case, I would do a customer survey, and the first question would be something like, which of the following best describes you? I'm a full-time agency owner or consultant. I'm an in-house marketer working for another company, or I'm trying to launch my agency consultancy while working full-time at another job. And so of the people who have consumed this program, they would self-select into one of those three buckets. I would imagine most people would probably be in the third bucket, with number 2 being the well, it could be a tie between numbers 1 and 2. So that is an example of this question where it allows you to sort of allow people to self-select and segment themselves. And that allows you to just get a lot of insight into who you're actually targeting and who you're actually talking to in your marketing. Question number 2 then is essentially something like this. How much have you spent on type of product in the last 12 months? And so the intent behind this question is really to give you an idea of how sophisticated your market is, how likely they are to purchase, and how much they are willing to spend in your product segment. So an example for this, again, if I was selling this as an online course, it would be something like, my example question would be something like, how much have you spent on marketing, training, and coaching in the last 12 months, with then a handful of other options. So $0, $100 to $1,000, $1,000 to $5,000, $5,000 plus. Again, that's just because most courses in this space are between like $700 and $2,000. Depending on your product pricing, your categories of prices would obviously be different. Question number 3 then is, what is the number 1 roadblock or challenge that you feel is preventing you from and then achieving the result promised by your product? So let's say you're selling gym memberships. It would be, what is the number 1 roadblock or challenge that you feel is preventing you from losing weight, or from hitting your health goals, or from going to the gym every day? Like whatever that is for your product or your service, you're going to insert that in here. And so what this question does is it helps you identify your customer's actual problem, or at least what they think their problem is, as opposed to you trying to guess at what your customer's problems are. And so this is a very common misconception that I see in the marketplace, is that many marketers, many business owners think that their customers are buying their product to solve a specific problem, when it turns out that the customers are actually trying to solve a completely different problem, or a problem rephrased a different way. And so this is an incredibly powerful question to ask on any survey. And so again, an example question for me, if I was to launch this as my own survey, it would be, what is the number 1 biggest challenge that you feel is preventing you from becoming a top 10% paid traffic marketer, Facebook ads marketer? And just leave this question open-ended and allow people to just answer and fill in the blanks here themselves. Question number 4 then, another question on this should be, what is your main motivation for wanting to and then achieve the result promised by your products? So this is similar to the previous question, but instead of focusing on the problems, this is really focusing on the motivation and the reason why. And so this question helps you uncover your customer's actual motive for buying your product and the actual results that they want to achieve. And so an example question for me for this program would be, what is your main motivation for wanting to learn Facebook advertising and paid traffic? And again, you should just leave this open-ended, because you don't necessarily know. You don't want to try and confine people to multiple choice questions. And so leave this open-ended and allow people to just answer it themselves. And once you get, a dozen, 2 dozen, 100 responses, you're going to start seeing similarities. You're going to have an idea very, very quickly of why people actually want to achieve this result. And so realistically, that is all you need for a successful customer survey. And I'm going to go into a few bonus questions here shortly that you can also include for added context. Also worth noting that if you go to jordanschumacher.com/enroll and actually sign up for it's still free, but actually sign up for the program, which is hosted on like a fancy online education platform, there's actually going to be a link and a download where you can download this list of questions. You can download a sample template, and you can actually download a sample survey in Google Forms. That's going to be in there. Again, jordanschumacher.com/enroll. It's free. You can sign up. You can get access to all of the videos at once. You don't need to wait one every 90 days to be released to my YouTube channel. Again, that's jordanschumacher.com/enroll. But now some bonus questions that you can add to your survey for additional context. So bonus question number 1 is, how would you describe your company, your brand, or your product to a friend in less than 3 sentences? And so this question lets you see how your customers actually perceive your brand or your product, and it lets you know if your messaging is actually getting through to them or not. If you ask this question, you will be surprised by how people may describe you, which will give you a number of insights. It will let you know, hey, actually, it turns out my positioning is off and I need to work on that. Or, hey, it turns out all of these people see me in this way. The way that they're describing me is actually better than my positioning. And so I'm actually just going to steal what they're describing me as and start using that in my marketing to speak the same language that they are. Bonus question number 2 is, who do you feel our closest 2 or 3 competitors are? So this question is similar to question number 1, but again, it lets you see how your customers perceive you and your brand and your products against the rest of your market. And then bonus question number 3 is, if you were forced to choose to purchase our product from either your closest competitor or us, who would you choose and why? This is a really, really great question, and I highly recommend you leave this open-ended because, again, this lets you see into the mind of what the customer actually cares about when it comes to making purchase decisions and what criteria they're actually weighing as valuable when it comes to making purchase decisions. And then the last question, this is something that I almost always do, is I just say something like on the survey, hey, occasionally I like to ask follow-up questions. If you're willing to speak on the phone with myself or someone on our team for 15 minutes on the basis that you will not be sold anything, please put your phone number below and the best time to call you. And really this just allows you to follow up with your customers and have an interactive conversation because there's really nothing that can replace the context of real-time conversations. And so I highly recommend doing this. Again, if you tell them that you're not going to sell them something, don't turn it into a sales call because that's going to make people really upset. But I highly recommend actually just having conversations with your customers. There's nothing that can provide more context and insight into who they actually are, their state of mind, their problems, and ultimately the value that they're receiving from your brand, from your products. There's nothing better than just getting on the phone and talking with them. And so that covers the entire customer survey process. Again, if you want examples to this, if you want all of the videos in a very, very beautifully constructed online education format, go to jordanschumacher.com/enroll. If you're not a member of my free Facebook community, The Art of Online Advertising, highly recommend you go to jordanschumacher.com/community. That'll redirect you to the Facebook group. You can join there completely free of charge. And we're discussing this content. It's great. There's a lot of interaction. People are posting goals, holding each other accountable. It's really great. Would love it if you could join me in there. But this video covers the entire customer research survey portion. In the next video that we cover, we're going to talk about how to actually acquire and extract this data even if you don't have an existing customer list. So how you can actually steal this from your competitors and how you can actually go out and acquire this data and get an understanding of who your customers are, even if you don't have an existing list, even if you don't have 100 customers that you can go and email. We'll show you how to do that. I'll see you in the next video. Take care.